このジョルノ・ジョバーナには夢がある。
やった！あの矢の力の先に向かうのはジョルノのゴールドエクスペリエンスだわ。
こんなのは真実なんかではない。
これがレクイエム。
Hi, Shing here. I've been getting a lot of questions about my build recently, and I thought that now would be a good time to make a video on how to build what I'd like to call a burst DPS Xingqiu. Disclaimer, this is not an ult support Xingqiu, so if you came to this video looking for a way to build Xingqiu as an ult support unit, you clicked on the wrong video. However, if you do still want to build one, make sure to check out the link in the description. I linked a handbook made by my good friend IonFox. Another note that I want to make before starting the video is that this build is not free-to-play friendly and requires at least Constellation 4 for it to be viable in general gameplay. More on that later. This is a specific style of Xingqiu that focuses mainly on maximizing his burst vaporized damage, which is his E skill. Mechanically, it's no different than trying to set up Mona and Child's ults, and so as such, this video could apply towards those characters as well if you're looking to optimize your big vaporized damage hits in general. For Xingqiu, the reason why you want his Constellation 4 for this playstyle is because after activating his Q, you'll gain a 50% damage boost on his Fatal Rain screen. This damage boost is multiplicative, meaning that it will multiply the base percentages of both hits of Fatal Rain screen by a whole 50%. For me, having talent level 11, the base damage of my Fatal Rain screen hits are 319 plus 363%, which after activation of Q would make it 478.5% plus 544.5%. This is a total of 1023% combined. To compare, at talent level 11, Child's Havoc Obliteration skill deals 881.6% in his melee form. This means that Xingqiu's E is 16% stronger than Child's ult. Granted that they're both at talent level 11, though Child's ult has a cooldown of 15 seconds compared to Xingqiu's E being at 20 seconds. Lava Walkers is my personal favorite set for a burst DPS Xingqiu. This is because the 4-piece set effect of Lava Walker states that you'll be able to gain a 35% damage boost upon hitting an enemy with a pyro status afflicted onto it. The reason why it works so well on a burst DPS Xingqiu is because all of your vaporized damage will be able to benefit from this set effect. Remember that this set effect is additive and not multiplicative though, so that means it will add on to any existing elemental multiplier that you may already have, such as Hydro damage from your cup or Hydro damage from Xingqiu's Ascension 4 passive. If you use this set on a burst DPS Xingqiu and you run pyro support, you'll be able to make use of this set effect very often. Sure, it won't have 100% uptime, but setting up vaporizes on Xingqiu is very easy and you'll be able to consistently get high damage numbers on him, enabling this set bonus. This is by far the best set to use on Xingqiu in my opinion, as it provides the highest damage ceiling for a burst DPS Xingqiu. The combination of these two set bonuses will work if you don't want to bother farming a 4 Lava Walker set, because the damage boosts from these sets are also additive, so they'll come quite close to the damage gain that you'll be able to get from Lava Walkers, though it's still losing by a few percentage. The upside of this set is that the 15% Hydro damage that you'll gain from the 2 Heart of Depth will boost Xingqiu's ult damage even when he's hitting an enemy without pyro status, so if you want to capitalize on Xingqiu's E damage while still going for a small damage boost towards your ult, this set may be an option to think about. The downside is that it's a bit difficult to roll for good substats on Wonders troop pieces due to them being locked behind elite bosses, who don't have a guaranteed gold artifact drop until AR55. This is the generalist set, which may still be able to work with the burst DPS Xingqiu, though it's the lowest DPS option available for the playstyle outlined in this video. It has the same perks and cons as mentioned previously with 2 Heart of Depth and 2 Wondrous Troop, though the 2 Glad set effect will be able to boost your ult damage more than Wondrous Troop will be able to. It will probably provide a lower damage ceiling depending on your stat ratios, though if you don't want to hyper optimize into a burst DPS Xingqiu and still want an option of running him as an ult support unit, this set may be for you. I won't go into depth onto this set. Basically, if you insist on using this set for a burst DPS Xingqiu, you clicked on the wrong video. Ideally, you would want attack percentage on your hourglass, but obviously energy recharge on your hourglass if you don't already have enough to consistently get your ult back in time for its cooldown. You'll also need hydro damage percent on your cup and either crit rate or crit damage on your circlet. Building Xingqiu is a bit difficult due to its reliance on energy recharge, but also needing to stack enough attack, crit damage, and crit rate to consistently pack a punch. You need energy recharge on Xingqiu for the burst vaporize build because you will always want the 50% damage boost from its Constellation 4. So having the ult up at the same time as the E cooldown will be the most optimal scenario for consistent damage. Keep in mind though, you need decent substats on your Xingqiu in order to get full use out of his burst DPS playstyle, which will require a bit of commitment into the build, which is why I want to make the disclaimer again that this build is not free to play friendly. For specific stat optimizations for your Xingqiu, I would personally aim for at least 50% crit rate. You have some leeway with Festering Desire because you'll have a 12% extra crit rate from using his E skill if you're using Festering Desire. I will also aim to have 150% crit damage and 175% energy recharge on Xingqiu. 175% energy recharge at the bare minimum would usually ensure that his ult is back up in time to pair with his E. I would only recommend you run Sacrificial Sword if you have high enough refines on it, at least refinement 3, the more the better of course, due to the nature of RNG potentially interfering with the availability of your burst. If you do have refines, this is a good weapon to choose if you want to burst DPS Xingqiu, as the 20-second cooldown is an obstacle that Xingqiu usually has to face in between his E bursts. You'll be able to do 2 hits of E more often than not, so you'll be able to dish out potentially insane damage. The downside of this, of course, is the low base attack that Sacrificial Sword provides, so you'll see lower damage numbers than other options, which really doesn't matter if you're hitting E twice anyway. Festering Desire is a great option for burst DPS Xingqiu because not only are you able to get this weapon at Refinement 5 completely free to play, this sword is actually tailored around this playstyle of Xingqiu. At Refinement 5, Festering Desire gives a 32% damage bonus and a 12% crit rate bonus whenever you use your E skill. This is perfect because not only will you be able to make use of this weapon's passive to its full extent, the increased crit rate gives you a bit of leeway when it comes to artifact main and substat optimizations. If you don't already have a high refined Sacrificial Sword, or if you would like to see higher damage hits on Xingqiu in general, this sword is a great option. The gap between this weapon's burst potential and Sacrificial Sword's burst potential isn't too far off, as it's not always easy to pull off 4 Vaporize hits in a row in order to make full use of Sacrificial Sword's potential. Due to it being easier to pull off 2 Vaporize hits, Festering Desire will be more consistent than Sacrificial Sword. While Festering Desire only has 75% of the damage potential that Sacrificial Sword has, the quality of life improvements over Sacrificial, such as the non-reliance on RNG and non-reliance on gacha, may make this a more appealing option to run on the burst DPS Xingqiu. I want to mention these 2 options because though they deal less damage than Sacrificial and Festering for the burst E itself, their high base attack and passives will be able to make up for the damage loss while you're attacking with Xingqiu's ult while waiting for the E cooldown to end. If you're already well funded and have these weapons readily available, they're not a bad choice for burst DPS Xingqiu. An example of a big burst team that you can use is Xingqiu, Mona, Sucrose, and Bennett. For this team, the purpose of Sucrose is her 4 Viridescent Veneer ability to reduce the enemy's resistance to the swirled element, and in this case is Hydro for 40%. Her Ascension 4 passive also gives 20% of her elemental mastery for all units that share the same element as the swirled element. For example, I have her at 653 EM, and my Xingqiu will be receiving 130 EM as a bonus. Bennett on my team acts as an attack buffer, as my Bennett is at least Constellation 1 with a level 9 ult talent. I receive 115% of his base attack as a bonus to my Xingqiu. Bennett also acts as a Pyro infusion into Sucrose ult, which allows me to reapply Pyro status onto the enemy in between my 2 hits of E, allowing me to double vaporize. The last unit in this team is Mona, which after using her ult, she applies an Omen debuff onto an enemy, allowing them to take, in my case, 52% more damage as I have a level 6 ult talent. Though, in place of Mona, I can also fit Klee due to her Constellation 2 reducing enemy defense by 23% after using her E skill, or Diona due to her Constellation 6 giving a 200 EM boost inside of her ult field, or even Albedo due to his Ascension 4 passive giving a 125% EM boost to the team after using his ult. I won't get too much into more details here, but there are a lot of more options you could choose to make a team from if you know what you're looking for. You're not locked into these specific units in order to do high damage numbers, of course. Now, an example of what I would run Xingqiu with in general gameplay would be Xingqiu, Bennett, Zhangling, and Venti. This team is more geared towards general or abyss usage due to the CC abilities of Venti and Zhangling. With this team, you'll be able to wipe out large hordes of enemies like it were nothing. And all you need is Venti ult and then infusion of Pyro, then you just do Xingqiu's E hit after his ult to one-shot most enemies. Xingqiu's second hit of his E actually reaches really far up, so you'll have no issues reaching the height requirement of Venti's ult. If you're able to build a proper burst DPS Xingqiu, you'll find that no content in the game is able to stop you, because you can one-shot elite and weekly bosses, you can one-shot any events, and you can one-shot even Abyss. Despite how it may look, you don't need any special support units like Mona or Venti to make this work. All you need are Pyro units, as long as they're able to apply Pyro gauge onto the enemy. Bennett works, Zhangling works, even Amber works. Keep in mind that if you're running single application Pyro units such as Bennett as your only Pyro support for Xingqiu, you won't be able to make full use of Xingqiu's burst DPS potential, because you would need extra Pyro application in order to do a double vaporize, which Amber and Zhangling excels at. If you pair your Pyro units with Anemo infusion abilities such as Venti's or Sucrose's ult, you'll find that you'll be able to also consistently pull off double vaporizes, or even quadruple vaporizes if you're running Sacrificial Sword on a burst DPS Xingqiu. Keep in mind that since you're infusing Pyro into the Anemo abilities, you won't be able to make use of the 4 Viridescent Veneer's set bonus at all, since you're not boosting the Hydro damage that Xingqiu has, unless you're swirling beforehand with a different ability. All you need to keep in mind is that just don't accidentally infuse Hydro into the Anemo abilities, because you won't be able to pull off vaporizes then. It takes a bit of practice to consistently pull off double vaporizes on every hit, but once you get the mechanics and timings down, you'll be able to pull it off on every single hit and see consistent high DPS numbers. This is all the information I had to give in order to help you build a burst DPS Xingqiu. While this is a build that requires a lot of resources in order to optimize, it's really fun to use, as you could always see consistently high DPS numbers, and you'll be able to match other quote-unquote meta DPS teams. Well, that's it for the video, guys. If you'd like to see more of this content in the future, please give this video a like and let me know down in the comments below. Alright, see you in the next video.